Elevation Nation. We have a very special guest on the podcast today, someone who's going to help us all live our life with just a little bit more intention. We have on Faith Bergman. She is a life coach, and we are so excited to chat with her about a lot of the struggles that Parker and I have felt, that many of you are feeling out there, and we certainly have an expert on our hands to help us navigate some of the struggles that we all go through. Faith, welcome to Elevation Nation. We are so honored that you're here with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sam, you forgot that she's a Terp. That
True.
is a big thing here.
The most important part.
You know, Faith, it's funny, on our episode of Fortitude and 15 this past week, we were talking about, or it was with Max, Sam. So this was last week. We were talking about how we have more Penn State alumni in the nation than Terps. And so I am on a mission to change that. And Faith, you are the start of making that happen. But it's great
Perfect.
to meet you. We're excited to have you and welcome you to Elevation Nation. We do start every episode this exact same way. I don't know if you listen to any episodes, but we start out with an elevator pitch. You got to tell us a little bit more about who you are.
Of course. Okay, so I'm Faith. I'm originally from outside of Boston, went to University of Maryland for college, and currently work full-time in fintech, and then on the side am a life coach and mindset coach. So a very busy schedule in New York City.
Well, we certainly love to talk about mindset. We maybe will have to table the fintech conversations for another day, because I think the mindset stuff is something that Parker and I are extremely passionate about. So, Faith, obviously I know your story a little bit, but for Elevation Nation, what inspired you to become a certified life coach?
Yeah, of course. So I kind of started this journey back a couple years ago. When I was in college, I really thought that I wanted to be in finance. I thought it was kind of the right place for me to go after being in the business school, and just after speaking with all my friends and interviewing and kind of all of that. Started off in the finance world at one of the big four firms, and ended up continuing into the finance world at a boutique finance company that was 95% men. Not for me at all. Very old school, not forward thinking, and was transparently completely miserable. And I remember sitting there every single day, waking up at 5 a.m. so that I had time to try and work out for myself in the morning and get to the office by 8, and sitting at my desk, either crying every single day at my desk, or probably when I would leave work, being really upset and crying on the way home on the subway, which now it sounds comical, but at the time I was like soul crushed, devastated every single day. And I was starting to feel like this is just not how I'm going to live the rest of my life. And if it's going to be the rest of my life like this, I'm just not going to be able to do this. And ended up leaving that job 2022, and was unemployed for probably 3 or 4 months, trying to figure out what the next thing was. And I still knew like I wanted to have a full-time job, but I also knew that there were a lot of people that either felt that they had to go into a certain career path because that's just maybe what their parents told them or what society told them. And at the same time, they didn't know how to take care of themselves. So you get to the office and you see these people that are sleep deprived, or they don't know how to figure out like an exercise routine, or they don't know how to eat healthy. And it just goes back to like habits. And that really started to get me thinking about just kind of like my personal habits. I don't know if obviously we're meeting each other like officially now for the first time, but when I was in college, I was like 75 pounds heavier than I am right now, super negative, just like a completely different person. And I think that I can attribute most of my success to where I am today for the habits that I put in place, and ended up taking a full-time job in the fintech space, which I do really like. But on the side, I was like, there are a lot of people that feel the same way I do, and I want to be able to help them. So I went through a coaching intensive program, and then ended up starting my business a little over a year ago. And since then have been working mostly one-on-one with individuals that are typically either high achieving individuals in intense work environments or startup founders. And I've been doing one-on-one coaching, and I've done a number of on Zoom and in-person series of coaching and sessions on how to take care of yourself. I did one actually last night for a female-founded company that's based out of Chicago, and I got, even before I joined this, I got a really, really nice Instagram DM that I just finished reading, and it was like this long, and just about how my conversation last night came into this girl at the right time. And it was like such an eye-opening message to receive that I was like, are people actually receptive of what I'm putting out and what I'm doing? And some of the messaging I got last night, I was like, wow, this is exactly why I'm doing this.
It's pretty amazing to think about the mindset, right? We all talk about mindset, us three in particular. It's definitely a buzzword these days, right? I'm scrolling on TikTok, and maybe the algorithm's just giving me like all mindset stuff. That's definitely what it's giving me, because that's all Sam and I talk about all the time. But we all have a mindset. But is it the right mindset for you? And that is the hard part in navigating young adulthood. And that's what Sam and I are on a mission to help young people think about too, with Elevation Nation. We always like to say, Elevation Nation knows this really well, that up until you graduate college, for most people, at least in our circles, in our communities in which we grew up in, you're on a GPS. You're routed to a destination. And if you go off course, the GPS is going to bring you back. And I'm referring to maybe mentors or parents or teachers, and they're going to help guide you back. But when you are driving along your little GPS and you get to the end, aka graduating college, the GPS ends and you start a new journey, and the GPS looks a little different because it's not really a GPS anymore. It's more of a compass. And now you have to navigate by putting one step forward. A lot less people are going to help you along the way. And that's a really challenging struggle for a lot of young people. So I commend you in the work that you're doing. It sounds like you did a lot of introspection and thinking about your life to get to where you are today. And now it's amazing and inspiring that you're helping other people get a step forward as they navigate the real world. So I'm curious, Sam and I love introspection. How are you helping your clients, the people that you're working with, get deeper with themselves so that they have better direction in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. So something that I really like to start at the beginning of working with my clients is discussing kind of their current habits, routines, what they're doing each day, like what that kind of looks like, and also just getting a better sense of their life circumstances. So where are they living? Are they happy where they live? Are they single? Are they married? Are their kids involved? Do they like their career? Do they have a lot of friends that they hang out with? Do they have things that they like to do on the side? Or how do they take care of themselves or have fun? Like, I think there's a lot of different questions I'll tend to ask, and it's very individualized. And then from there, I really like to start thinking about, where do you want to see yourself a year from now? So if I said to someone, I started working with them today, and it's July 24th, 2024, I say to them at the beginning, it's July 24th, 2025. Where are you in the world? Where do you live? What job are you doing? Who do you surround yourself with? What do you personally feel like? Like, what's lighting you up inside? And that really helps people think bigger and think deeper. And it often allows people to think about something that maybe they've never thought of before. So I like to think about it when you're in like a job interview. They always ask you, like, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? And normally when people respond to that question, they say something like, I want to get promoted, or I want to be this next title, or whatever it may be. And a lot of times people aren't thinking about all the other areas of their life. So I think I like to call myself a growth mindset person. And I like to always kind of think bigger and dream bigger and all of that kind of stuff. And I think that that's just something that really goes into my work with my clients and with the audiences that I speak to. And just letting people know that if there's something they want to do, or maybe they have like a feeling of being called to do something or try something, like, there's no, like, just go out and try it. Like, I think a lot of people are so held back by fear and fear of other people and failing and all of these kinds of things. And if I had listened to those people, I would not be where I am today. I wouldn't have hopefully inspired at least a couple of the people that messaged me last night and just really kind of gone after what I'm like really being called to.
It's such a good feeling. I know all of us started these journeys for the right reasons, right? Wanting to help people. And I remember when Parker and I first got a DM from someone saying, I listened to the podcast. That helped me so much going through a situation that I'm handling. And I remember getting that and calling Parker and being like, dude, did you see? Like, someone actually listened. Like, we helped somebody. This made it all worth it. And as we've continued our journey to be able to really interact with people virtually, but now even more so in person as we go around the country helping young adults with their mental fortitude and mindsets, every single time we do that, we look at each other and smile, and we're reminded of why we started this journey. So I'm really excited for you, Faith, that as you are a little more recent in starting your journey, that you're getting those moments of joy and those reminders of why you are kind of pushing through some of the struggles that it certainly is to be a life coach and talk about mindset and be an entrepreneur. So I'm excited for you that you're having those little sweet little bits of success there. So kudos to you. I want to ask you a question, though, because people obviously hear all of the advice and guidance that Parker and I give. We are certainly not certified coaches. It is just our perspective. So you mentioned at the beginning a little bit about your story and how you had more of a negative mindset before, and you really turned that around. And so I think in our generation, a lot of people are more negative. I think it's very easy to be negative with social media and how much technology we're dealing with and some of the chaos in the world right now. How do you work with your clients to turn around their negative mindset when they are coming to you at their lowest points, when they are truly negative and truly struggling and going through something? How do you help them shift that at full 180 to be more positive?
Yeah, that's a great question. And if you had told me 5 years ago that I would be telling you how to be more positive right now, I actually would have laughed, because I used to wake up every single morning being like, this is about to be the worst day of my life. Like, why am I still doing this? I think it really all comes down to gratitude. And like, I know that that's such a buzzword right now, but it really makes such a difference when you think about what you are truly grateful for. And that is something that if I'm having a bad day, or if I'm just kind of like feeling a little bit low, which like, yeah, life coaches also feel that way. So I definitely have days that really ebb and flow. But that's something that at night I will think of either 3 things that I'm grateful for or something that went really well that day. And that just really puts things back into perspective for me. So when I'm working with individual clients, I really like for them to kind of shift their mindset of what they're thinking of. If it's something that actually happened, like talking through it and kind of seeing maybe what could have gone better. But if it's something that they're like, this may go really poorly, instead of thinking of like the most negative option, which I think based off science, it's like 98% of the time doesn't happen, try and think about, what if this goes really well? What if the thing that I want happens? Or what if this occurs as a result? And then you get like really excited and you start thinking about all the possibilities, what could be, instead of what you don't want to happen. So really like coming back to gratitude, mindfulness, and also I think journaling can be really helpful for some people, and just kind of getting out their feelings. I think a lot of times we make up scenarios in our heads of the worst thing that could happen, or the worst things that people are saying about us, when like no one's saying that about you. You don't have any confirmation they're saying it. So like, why think that? I used to think that all the time, like, oh, they're probably saying XYZ behind my back. But now I'm like, oh, they actually didn't tell me that, and I didn't hear that, so I know I'm making that up. So that doesn't seem like it's actually happening. And for some of my clients, like saying those kind of things have made such a difference. And they've never even like thought about mindset in that way.
What is it, Sam? Yesterday, we found 85% of people, or if 85% of the things that we think happen won't happen ever.
Yeah.
We create these narratives in our head. And I think to that point, Faith, as a person who, like myself, who's always trying to elevate, and, you know, I got my meditation routine, and I got my physical exercise routine, and I got all these different things that I feel like have helped me elevate and feel better in a given day. There's a lot of people who are trying to probably get there, or get to a place where they're really confident in their routine in their day. And I'm sure there's also people who look at you or Sam or myself or a lot of other people who think they figured it out. It says by no means we figured it out, by the way, and be like, well, how do you do that all the time, and how does it always make you feel good? How does it always bring you up to a fulfilling day or whatnot? And I like to also think about it in the sense of this concept Sam and I call the stacking method, that our foundation has gotten to a point by virtue of doing these things over and over and over that the hard things that were once really hard have become a lot easier because they're now normal. And I love the way you implement the idea of routine and habits in your clients and continuing to reinforce that, because it's really important, because you need to stack those good habits which make sense for you, so that in the future, in a year, we're looking back and be like, wow, I can't believe I do this every day. I can't believe I enjoy that, because now your level is so much higher. Your base is so much better. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, I mean, I actually was talking about this last night. Someone said, like, how do I get to where I want to be? And if there's 10 new things that you want to implement, I think a lot of times, especially nowadays with social media and like seeing on Instagram and seeing on TikTok and these people doing crazy 75 hard challenges and all of those kind of things, like, you don't need to add 10 new things at once. And I think that's where people struggle a lot. They see their favorite influencer doing all of these things and waking up at this time and taking their supplements and going on a walk and meditating and doing their infrared sauna. And like, some of these things are just, you don't need to do all of them, first of all. Second of all, you need to find what works for you. And I think a lot of times people are adding in 7 things at once. And then a week later, they're like, ugh, I like tried it, but it didn't work for me. And the reason it didn't work for you is because you're adding way too many things at once and no one's giving you the permission to go slow. So I think that that's like one of my tips that I say to everyone. Go slow. No one's telling you have to do 10 different things at once. And just like really making sure that the new thing that you're adding in a week from now, you actually enjoy it. And if it's not something that you enjoy, like, you don't have to go wake up at 6 a.m. and drink lemon water every morning if that's not what you want. But if you want to start getting up earlier and then start getting up earlier and going to the gym, then start getting up earlier for a couple weeks, see how you're feeling, and then after a couple weeks, when you've allowed your body to like feel how it will when it wakes up early, then start going to the gym and incorporating more movement, and then see how you feel. So kind of slowly building to where you want to go and not just throwing in every single thing all at once.
I think there's a ton of spot-on lessons there for personal growth and mindset development, but also for entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Parker certainly and I are certainly not where we necessarily want to be yet. And if I could have snapped my fingers and had us be further along, of course we would have. But I'm very grateful that we've done it slow.
Your mindset as an elevator, Sam, is you're never going to probably be where you want to be in that present moment.
Never.
That's what keeps you going. That's what keeps you elevating.
Blessing and a curse, man. Blessing and a curse.
In that pursuit of whatever you think is the right thing, your base, your foundation continues to grow. And then you can look back, you're like, damn, can't believe I made. That's what elevating's all about.
Got it. Love that. Parker, good insight. You froze for a second, but we knew what you were saying. Well done. Faith, I think you have some spot-on tips, some really valuable messages for our young adults, which I greatly appreciate. I want to move us into our rapid-fire section now, which we have a couple really quick questions that we like to ask guests based on really their topic and their personality. So I'm going to start us off. A lot of young people are looking for quick tips, right? We are the instant gratification generation. And so while I would say to solve many of your issues, you should talk to someone like Faith or a therapist or work on yourself and be introspective, those are longer term solutions. But for someone out there that is feeling extremely overwhelmed right now, Faith, what is one quick tip that they can do in this moment that can help them feel a little bit more grounded?
I would say, and this might seem so uncomfortable for some people, but spending and scheduling time by yourself. I think I was seeing a therapist at one point, maybe a couple years ago, that told me this, and I laughed in her face. And it has actually made the biggest difference in my life.
I think we're scared of being alone.
Yeah. And you don't know how to be alone. I feel like being alone, people are like, oh, I'm just going to scroll on my phone. being alone is like sitting in silence and not scrolling and being disrupted by the latest trend on TikTok or what's going on the news or watching TV. Like being alone is truly being alone and being alone with your thoughts. And I think that has really helped me get to the next level.
A funny quick story. So I got back from the boxing gym this morning and I've been drinking grapefruit juice. It's like my morning thing after, I don't know why. It's just been my craving this week. And so I poured myself a glass and I sat down in our chair and my roommate was gone. He was already at the office. And of course, instantly I go to grab my phone and sit and do something on it. But I was like, it's 8 a.m. Like, why don't I just sit here and look out the window?
Yeah.
And it was so nice. Like I just drank my juice, sat, looked out the window for 3-4 minutes, and then went and showered and started my day. But I was like, we're so used to distracting ourselves so that we don't have to be alone. And I think it's fantastic advice. Take a minute by yourself, live in the present moment, taste the grapefruit juice, see what it tastes like. Be alone with yourself and see how you feel. So I think that's great advice. Thank you, Faith.
Okay, my rapid fire, Faith, is a little bit off that. If you were to do one hobby that isn't your phone or doing nothing with yourself, what is it that you would do? Yeah. What's your go-to?
I'd probably go for a walk on the West Side Highway. I don't know if that's sounds like a hobby, but I like really like being outside and walking everywhere. And that just, there's one pier that I used to go on every single day after work when I worked in finance and called my parents crying. And now I go and I'm like so happy and it just feels very full circle for me. So anytime I have like an extra hour, I love going the West Side Highway and just like sitting on that pier and just reflecting.
I mean, Parker certainly loves the West Side Highway, so much so that he passed out on the West Side Highway and had to get rescued by an ambulance when he was on a run. So I'm so glad you both have the love for the West Side Highway in common.
I can't tell you how many people have laid face down on the West Side Highway, but I am one of them. So.
Okay, there's probably a lot.
Claim to fame. Well done, Parker.
There probably is a lot, actually. It is New York City.
Faith, as you can see, last rapid fire behind Parker, we love books at Elevation Nation. We're always reading. Do you have a book recommendation for us?
Yes. So I would say, I don't know, maybe you both have read one of his books, but I have been very into Dr. Joe Dispenza lately, and specifically love the book Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I thought that was just like, I'm definitely not like a super nerdy person, but that book like made me so fascinated, and I think everyone should read it.
Well, one of our best friends, Miles Grossman, and I have been talking about Joe Dispenza for months together. I have now been doing pineal gland meditations every morning to try to work through it, and I just finished Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. So I'm with you. A little bit, I'm going to say out there just because it's different, but when you read it, like, I don't know, a lot of it made sense to me. So yeah, check out Dr. Joe Dispenza. Pretty cool guy.
Yeah, definitely haven't gotten to that yet. It's on there.
Parker thinks I'm a hippie, but
No.
whatever.
I mean, so do half my friends, but it's fine.
Yeah, Sam, you think, I mean, come on. We all know who the real hippie is here. It's on my bookshelf, but it is not been read yet. Okay, Faith, last question for you. We ask every single elevator who joins Elevation Nation this one question. The thing that binds us all together is something that we call the mental motto, and that is a phrase, a quote, a slogan that you utilize to elevate in your life. I have one. Sam's got one. All of Elevation Nation's got a mental motto, and hundreds, if not thousands, of other students and entrepreneurs around the globe have their mental mottos. So, Faith, we're very curious. What is your mental motto?
It's a great question. I would definitely say that mine is, if you want something different, you have to do something different. And I think that one is really interesting to think about, because if you're someone that is having a growth mindset and trying to get to the next level always, you can't always do the exact same steps to get from point A to point B to then get from point B to point C. And I think that that's something that has made me like super aware of just kind of what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, what else I want to do and where I want to get, and just kind of like what I need to do that's changes and just different than what I've done before.
And goes perfectly with your book recommendation, might I add. So I think that's such a great mental motto for you, Faith. We certainly get stuck in our habits every single day and sometimes go in the wrong direction. And so breaking up that habit, doing something different, I think is so crucial for us to continue to elevate. And so on behalf of Elevation Nation, Parker, myself, Faith, I'm so excited that we get to finally officially welcome you to the nation as our latest elevator. You certainly are helping people live their lives with intention. And I know so many elevators out there are so grateful for the tips that you gave us. So thank you for joining us. And Elevation Nation, we will see you next week. Peace.